Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Sri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is animal science. My dear students, in the previous lecture, we have covered different anatomical system of cockroach, and now we are going to start with excretory system. So starting with the excretory system of cockroach, the main excretory organ for this orthopodan is Malpighian tubule. Cockroach, it belongs to class Insecta, phylum Orthopoda. So the main excretory organ is Malpighian tubules, and Malpighian tubules, they are analogous to when they have same functioning like our kidneys. In case of humans, as kidneys, they act as a osmoregulatory organ which helps in controlling or regulating the amount of electrolytes and water amount of electrolytes and water. So as our kidneys, they actually help in the osmoregulation to regulate the amount of electrolytes, means salt and water. The same function is done by Malpighian tubules in cockroach. These Malpighian tubules are associated with alimentary canal at the junction of midgut and hindgut. So when we were doing the digestive system of cockroach, so the digestive system is basically means the alimentary canal is divided into three major regions: the pro, the mid, and the hind. Mean the progut, midgut, and the hindgut. Okay. So between midgut and hindgut, we are having a junction, and that junction basically is a point of assemblance of alimentary canal and Malpighian tubules. Around 90 Malpighian tubules are present. Okay, so total around 90 Malpighian tubules are present, and they are arranged in a group of 6 to 8, and each group is having 15 tubules. Okay, so it's a clear mathematics: 15 into 6, that is 90. In 15 Malpighian tubules, they are basically arranged in a group of 6, okay, 6 to 8, to form 15 Malpighian tubules. The origin of these Malpighian tubules are ectodermal, mean they are ectodermal in origin, right? The Malpighian tubules, they are having two parts. First, the proximal part, which function as a absorptive organ, in which helps in absorption, and the second is distal part, which helps in the secretion, right? The first is proximal part, which helps in absorption, and the second is distal part, which helps in secretion. The wall which is present in the Malpighian tubule, mean the lining is cuboidal. So cuboidal epithelium is present in the wall of Malpighian tubules with brush border of microvilli. So the epithelial wall, it is having a fine hair-like projections, fine hair-like projections. These hair-like projections increase the surface area for absorption, increase the surface area for absorption, surface area for absorption, right? For absorption, okay? So they have cuboidal epithelium with brush border of microvilli in fine hair-like projections, having fine hair-like projections, which helps in the increase in surface area for absorption of food and other nutrients. Then outer covering or the outer coating of membrane is made up of fibrous connective tissue and muscles. So the outer coating or the outer membrane is made up of fibrous connective tissue and muscles, right? Fibrous connective tissue and muscles. Then the pulsation of heart, mean the pulsation of heart, in the blood vascular system, we came to know that presence of pulsatile heart in cockroach helps to force the blood from the posterior to the anterior regions. Okay, So the pulsation of these muscles along with the pulsation of heart, the rate of pulsation is around 5 to 15 pulsation per minute. Okay, so it is basically 5 to 15 pulsation per minute. Understood? Excretory substance enter into alimentary canal by pulsation. So this pulsation basically helps to uh, enter or helps to make a path, make a route for the entrance of food and the exit of excretory substances. Okay, so the excretory substance, it enter into the alimentary canal by pulsation. So this pulsation basically makes a passage for the entry of the excretory substance. The distal part of the Malpighian tubules collects excretory substance from hemocoel, the proximal part which is absorptive in function, and the distal part which is secretory in function. Okay, so the distal part of the Malpighian tubules, it collects the excretory substance. It basically collects the excretory substance from hemocoel. So hemocoel basically helps to deliver the excretory substance, and these excretory substance are basically collected by the Malpighian tubules or the distal part. So Malpighian tubules helps to collect the excretory substance from hemocoel. The excretory substance enters in the alimentary canal by the pulsation of these muscles. Okay, the rate of pulsation is 5 to 15 pulsations per minute. Then excretory substance mainly in the form of potassium urate. I mean, it is a salt of uric acid, potassium salt of uric acid. Uric acid. So cockroach, they are uricotilic, mean they excrete uric acid as a main nitrogenous excretory waste. So cockroaches, they are uricotilic. They mainly excrete potassium urate. The potassium urate is converted to uric acid and potassium bicarbonate by the cells by cuboidal epithelium. So cells of cuboidal epithelium, it helps to convert potassium urate into uric acid and potassium bicarbonate. They secrete these substances into the cavity of Malpighian tubules. So these substances, these excretory substances are basically, delivered or thrown in the cavity of Malpighian tubules. And from this cavity of Malpighian tubules, it basically merges, or it basically moves to the final collecting ductule, okay, or the secretory tubule. So it is basically moved to the secretory duct or secretory tubule, right? Also known as secretory ductule. Now the reabsorption process, it occurs in proximal part. Okay, as the formation of urine, there are three most important processes which are involved in the mechanism of formation of urine. First is the filtration, second is the reabsorption. So the reabsorption process, it occurs in the proximal part. So the proximal part of these Malpighian tubules, which is concerned with the absorption, is also helps in selectively reabsorbing the substances which are required and which are required in an optimal concentration. So that is very important to know that each nutrient is absorbed according to its optimal concentration. I mean, optimal concentration is basically that therapeutic range. It is a therapeutic range which is required for cellular metabolism. I mean, all the reactions going in a biological system in our body or in cockroach body. So all these cellular reactions, they are known as what? Metabolism, whether it is a single cellular or a multicellular organism. So all these metabolic processes, they require, the raw materials, the substances, and each substance is required in a definite amount, in a definite range. So the amount or the range which is beneficial for that cellular metabolic process is the therapeutic range or the optimal concentration. So the reabsorption process occurs in the proximal part. All essential materials absorbed and returned to hemocoel. So whatever is required is reabsorbed and it is given back to hemocoel. So hemocoel, it further delivers or redistributes the substances to whole body, and in this way the body is again having that nutrient or the metabolic substance for their reactions, for the normal metabolic processes. Okay, so this is the excretory system. It is an introduction of the excretory system, in which what points you have to remember. First is the Malpighian tubule. It is a main excretory organ which function as analogous to kidney. It is a osmoregulatory organ. Now, the alimentary canal is basically joined to this Malpighian tubule at the junction of midgut and hindgut. There are around 90 tubules which are arranged in a group of 50, group of 15 into 6 bundles or 6 rows, and they are ectodermal in origin. They have two parts: the proximal part, which is absorptive, and the distal part, which is secretory. Okay, so the proximal part, it helps in selective reabsorption, and the distal part, it helps in the tubular secretion or the final secretion. It makes the secretory ductule. The wall is cuboidal epithelium with brush border. Brush border epithelium is basically having microvilli, which will increase the surface area for the reabsorption process. The outer coating of membrane is made up of fibrous connective tissue and muscles. These muscles, they produce rhythmic contraction and relaxation, which is known as what? Pulsation. The pulsation limit is 5 to 15 pulsations per minute. Because of these pulsations, the food material, the excretory waste, it moves into the alimentary canal. Okay. Distal part of the Malpighian tubules collects all the excretory substance from hemocoel. The proximal part is absorbing and distal part is eliminating. The elimination of the nitrogenous waste is done in the form of uric acid or the potassium urate. Potassium urate is converted into uric acid and potassium bicarbonate by the cells of cuboidal epithelium. Okay. Reabsorption process is done by proximal part. Okay. Now coming to next, water. Water is reabsorbed by the alimentary canal and the excretory materials along with undigested substances excreted outside. Okay. So every undigested substance, urea, they all are reabsorbed by the reabsorption of water parallel. Okay. So the reabsorption of water goes parallel with along with the reabsorption of all these, nitrogenous substances. The water absorbed by the alimentary canal and the excretory materials along with the undigested substances excreted is excreted outside. Okay. Malpighian tubules, they are enteronephric. The type of Malpighian tubules, they are enteronephric. Okay, and help in osmoregulation. And they help in osmoregulation means it helps to maintain the level of electrolytes and water, right? And water. The level of electrolytes and water is to be maintained to maintain the proper to maintain the optimum osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. Okay. So the Malpighian tubules, they are enteronephric type and they are osmoregulatory in function. Now the excretory part, okay, it is basically, or we can say there are three different cells which help in the excretion. Okay, the urate cells, the nephrocytes, and the body wall. Okay, the urate cells and the nephrocytes. Nephrocytes are just like nephrons of human kidneys, and the body wall. Absorbs excretory materials from hemocoel. So all these cells, they basically absorb the excretory materials from hemocoel and store in cuticle. So all these cells like urate cell, nephrocytes, and body wall, they act as a storage house or a storage medium. They are temporary storage medium. Okay. So they absorb the excretory substances from hemocoel and they store in cuticle. Then at the time of molting, molting means acidosis, means shedding of normal or the old skin. So at the time of molting, molting also includes the conversion of the larval stage into the adult stage, like we have studied in metamorphosis. So molting simply means what? The individual or the organism will retain its feature, but it will shed its skin, okay, the outermost part. So at the time of molting or echidysis, excretory substances and cuticle, it gets separate out of the body. Okay. So the excretory substances, they are stored in the cuticle with the help of all these cells, urate cells, nephrocytes, and body wall. And at the time of shedding out, you know, at the time of exfoliation of the skin, the process of molting, the excretory substances and cuticle, they are separated from the main body. Uricose glands. Uricose glands, they help in the excretion in male cockroach. So in male cockroach specifically, the uricose glands are present which help in excretion. Okay. So the points you have to remember is the urate cell, nephrocyte, and body wall. The excretory substance, the excretory waste is stored in the form of cuticle. That cuticle is basically, it is eliminated from the body as a part of molting or acidosis. Okay. Uricose glands, they help in excretion in case of male cockroach. So please remember this term, that male cockroach, they have uricose glands, okay, for excretion. Understood? Now coming to next, the type of malphizian tubules are enteronephric. Okay. Now we are going to start with nervous system. Okay. We are going to start with nervous system. Excretory system is done. Nervous system. Right. So coming to this, the types of nervous system. Nervous system is simply, it is a highly evolved tissue, nervous tissue. It is a highly evolved tissue which gives a sense of consciousness and relate the organism to its environment. The organism to its environment, right? Okay. So my dear students, nervous tissue, it is a highly evolved tissue, okay, during the timeline of evolution of different organisms, okay. It gives a sense of consciousness and it helps to relate the organism to its environment. There are three types of nervous system: the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system, okay. Now coming to first central nervous system. Central nervous system, the first part is the brain ring. It is located in the head around the pharynx. Okay. So the brain ring is located in the head region around the pharyngeal part or the pharynx, just in front of tentorium. Okay. So in central nervous system, first we have to study about the brain ring. In brain ring or the brain ring, it is situated or located in the head region, head, thorax, abdomen. These are three segments of cockroach. So head region is having brain ring and it is around pharynx and it lies just in front of tentorium. The dorsal part is a thick and bilobed. The dorsal part of this brain ring is a thick bilobed supraesophageal ganglion. So the dorsal part of this brain ring is having a ganglion, mean a collection of nerves. So this ganglion, which is a collection of nerve, is known as what? A supraesophageal ganglion, which is bilobed. It is having two lobes. Okay. So it is having two lobes, bilobed. Okay. Or cerebral ganglion. It is also known as cerebral ganglion. Understood? So this supraesophageal ganglion, which is bilobed, having two lobes, or supraesophageal ganglion, formed by the fusion of three pairs of cephalic ganglia. So three pairs of cephalic ganglia means in all six cephalic ganglia, they fuse to form a single cerebral ganglion, one cerebral ganglion, right? So the cerebral ganglion is formed by the fusion of three pairs of cephalic ganglia. Okay. Now the ganglia and their pair, mean what are the different types of ganglia which come into fusion to form this cerebral ganglion: protocerebrum, deutocerebrum, and tritocerebrum. So these are the three specific names: the protocerebrum, deutocerebrum, and tritocerebrum. Okay. So the sub-esophageal ganglion and supraesophageal ganglion. Please don't confuse. The supraesophageal ganglion means above esophagus. Supra means above. Okay, above esophagus, right? And the supraesophageal ganglion is cerebral ganglion. Okay, which is made up of six cephalic ganglia. Six cephalic ganglia, which makes the cerebral ganglion. Okay, the protocerebrum, deutocerebrum, and tetocerebrum, right? The subesophageal ganglion, which is present on the ventral side, okay, which is present on the ventral side. The dorsal side, supraesophageal ganglion; ventral side, subesophageal ganglion, okay, of the alimentary canal. Subesophageal ganglion formed by the fusion of three pairs of ganglia. It is also formed by the fusion of three pairs of ganglia. Both ganglia are connected to each other by circumesophageal connective. Means the supraesophageal and subesophageal, they are connected by circumesophageal connective. Okay. So at the dorsal side, at the back, at the back, where you are having, or me, I am having my notochord, my vertebral column. So they have a dorsal supraesophageal ganglion, which is the cerebral ganglion, and the part or the face where I am having my heart located, my lungs located, means on my ventral side. The cockroach is having the subesophageal ganglion, and the supraesophageal ganglion and the subesophageal ganglion, they are connected by circumesophageal ring, okay, or circumesophageal connective, right? Now the ventral nerve cord. Second comes the ventral nerve cord. Ventral nerve cord is the double, it is a double, solid, and ladder-like. Okay. So the ventral nerve cord, it is not hollow, it is a solid nerve cord, which is double and it is ladder-like. Okay. So please remember it, that it is double and it is ladder-like. Okay. The nerve cord has 9 segmental ganglia. There are around 9 segmental ganglia which are present. Okay. So these 9 segmental ganglia are as follows: 3 large ganglia in the thorax, 6 in abdomen, and the last ganglion is located in the 7th abdominal segment. So there are around 3 large ganglia in thorax, 6 in abdomen, and the last ganglion is located in the 7th abdominal segment. So the ventral nerve cord, which is solid and which is ladder-like. The nerve cord is having 9 segmental ganglia, total 9 segmental ganglia. Apart from, we are not talking about the cerebral ganglion, the supra and subesophageal ganglion. We are talking about the second part, which is the nerve cord. So the nerve cord is having the 9 segmental ganglia, 3 large ganglia in thorax, and 6 in abdomen. So 3 large ganglia in thorax and 6 in abdomen. The last ganglion is located in the 7th abdominal segment. So till the 7th abdominal segment, the ganglia and their range gets, obliterated, it gets finished. The nerve cord is having 9 segmental ganglia, out of which the 3 segmental ganglia, the 3 large ganglia are present in the thorax, the thoracic region, and the 6 in abdomen. The last ganglion is located in the 7th abdominal segment. All ganglia are formed in the embryonic stage. So all ganglia, they are formed in the embryonic stage, okay, by the fusion of two ganglia. So all these ganglia, they are formed in the embryonic stage by the fusion of two ganglia. The last segmental ganglion formed by the fusion of many ganglia. The last segmental ganglion is a multiganglionic, which is formed by the fusion of many ganglia. So the last is multiganglionic, and except the last ganglia, the others are diploganglionic, means they are ganglionic or oligoganglionic. Okay, so the brain ring and the ventral nerve cord, we finished in this slide. The brain ring, the subesophageal ganglion, the supraesophageal ganglion, the cerebral ganglion, made up of 6 cephalic ganglia fuse to form one cerebral ganglion, proto, dito, and cerebrum. Okay, the ventral nerve cord with about 9 segmental ganglia, out of which the 3 segmental ganglia are on the thorax and the 6 are in the abdomen. The last ganglion is present in the 7th abdominal segment. Okay, now coming to next, the PNS or the peripheral nervous system. Three pair of nerves. Okay, so there are present three pair of nerves. Okay, from cerebral ganglion, one pair from protocerebrum, which supply the compound eyes, one pair from deuterocerebrum, which supplies the antenna, and one pair of tetocerebrum, which supplies the labrum. Okay, labrum, the upper lip, right? Upper lip. So there are three pairs of nerves which are the part of the peripheral nervous system. So from cerebral ganglion, these nerves they emerges, okay, and they innervate. Innervate means then they supply. So the one pair from the nerve which is emerging from the protocerebrum, it is coming with its innervation to the compound eyes. Then one pair of from deuterocerebrum, it is innervating in the antenna, or it is supplying to the antenna region, and one pair of tetocerebrum, it is supplying to the labrum or the upper lip. Three pairs of nerves which connect the subesophageal ganglion with mandibles. Okay, so the three pairs of peripheral nervous system, the nerves from peripheral nervous system, three pairs of nerves, they connect the subesophageal ganglion with mandible, maxilla, labium, okay, labium or the lower lip, and parts of head and neck, and parts of head and neck. So three pair of nerves, one from protocerebrum, compound eyes, deuterocerebrum, antenna, tritocerebrum, labrum. Okay. Then three pair of nerves which connect the subesophageal ganglion with mandibles. Okay. Maxilla, labium, and other parts of head and neck. Six pair of nerves from prothoracic and five pairs from each of the mesothoracic and metathoracic. Okay, so six pair of nerves from the thorax region. So these six pair of nerves out of thorax region supply from prothoracic and five from mesothoracic and metathoracic each respectively. Okay, all these six pairs from prothoracic, five from meso, five from meta, so around 16 pairs of nerves in thorax. Okay, and around 6 pairs of nerves in the head region. So all these 16 pairs of nerves from prothoracic, mesothoracic, and metathoracic in a ratio of 6 is to 5 is to 5. They innervate, they supply different parts of the respective segments. Okay, when different segments of the body it is supplied by all these nerves, the peripheral nervous system. Now the single pair of nerves which arise from each of the first five abdominal ganglia. Okay, so the first five abdominal ganglia. So a single pair of nerve which is coming out from this first five abdominal ganglia, mean from each abdominal ganglia which is present on the five segments. So each abdominal ganglia is giving out a nerve. Okay, so this nerve is going to innervate, going to supply muscles, spiracles, heart chambers, and other part in the respective segments. A single pair of nerves arise from each of the first five abdominal ganglia to innervate muscles, spiracles, heart chambers, and other part of their respective segments. From the last abdominal ganglion, three pairs of nerve arises. Okay. So from head region, around 6 pairs of nerves, 3 supraganglion, supraesophageal, 3 subesophageal. Okay. From thorax region, 6 prothoracic, 5 mesothoracic, and 5 metathoracic. Then abdominal region, 5 abdominal ganglia, 5 abdominal ganglia. Okay. Out of these 5 abdominal ganglia, first 5 abdominal ganglia, they give rise to a single pair of nerve, one pair of nerve. to supply spiracles, muscles, heart chambers, and other parts of the respective segments. And from the last abdominal ganglion, three pairs of nerve arise. Okay. All the nerves, they are of mixed type, mean they function as motor as well as sensory. Okay. Motor is efferent, and sensory is afferent. Okay. So from the last abdominal ganglia, three pairs of nerves arise. Okay. The motor, they are efferent nerves, and the sensory, they are afferent nerves. Now comes the autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. Autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. Okay. Now it is divisible into three parts. First, the somato or stomogastric, then the other parts of this stomogastric nervous system, which is the part of autonomic nervous system. Okay. So stomogastric nervous system, which is the part of autonomic nervous system, it includes five ganglia, and the nerves arising from these five ganglia. Okay, they innervate the anterior part of the gut as it flow through this system and regulates the involuntary activities of foregut. Okay, so the activities of foregut, the involuntary activities of foregut is basically maintained, or it is basically regulated by this stomogastric nervous system. Okay, which includes five ganglia, and each ganglia is giving off a nerve. Okay, which is innervating the anterior part of the gut. Okay, then the frontal ganglion. Okay, frontal ganglion. It includes frontal ganglion. This is a small median ganglion. It is a small median ganglion located dorsally at the back upon the pharynx, just in front of brain, to which it is connected by a pair of short and thick frontal connectives. Okay. So the frontal ganglion, it is present just at the back. Okay, just above the pharynx in front of brain, and from brain it is connected with a pair of short and thick frontal connectives. Okay, short and thick frontal connectives. Then hypocerebral ganglion, this is also a small median ganglion. It is located dorsally upon esophagus behind the brain. It is located dorsally behind the brain. Okay, it is connected in front with the frontal ganglion. In the front side, it is connected to the frontal ganglion by means of thick recurrent nerve. It is connected by means of two pairs of fine connectives and two pairs of adjacent endocrine glands. Okay, so the frontal ganglion and the hypocerebral ganglion. Frontal ganglion, which is a small median ganglion, which is located dorsally above the pharynx, just in front of brain, and to which it is connected with a short pair of frontal connectives, thick frontal connectives. Hypocerebral ganglion, this is also a small median ganglion which is located dorsally upon esophagus behind the brain. Behind the brain, it is connected in front of the frontal ganglion. It is just connected in front of the frontal ganglion by means of thick recurrent nerve. It is connected by means of two pairs of connectives, two pairs of fine connectives, and two pairs of adjacent endocrine glands. Okay. Gland names are corpora alata and corpora cardiaca. So these are the endocrine glands to which the autonomic nervous system is connected, and the hypocerebral ganglion part of the autonomic nervous system is connected to corpora cardiaca and corpora alata. Okay. So the frontal ganglion and the hypocerebral ganglion, they are the part of autonomic nervous system. The hypocerebral ganglion, it is basically having a thick recurrent nerve which helps to connect the frontal ganglion. Okay. All three form of a retrocerebral complex. So all these three forms means the frontal ganglion, the hypocerebral ganglion, and the stomogastric nervous system. It forms a retrocerebral complex in which hypocerebral ganglion along with the endocrine glands are also there. Endocrine glands are also there. Okay. All India Pre-Medical Test 2008. All these three forms, they form a retrocerebral complex, okay, which includes hypocerebral ganglion along with corpora cardiaca and corpora elata. So these two endocrine glands along with the hypocerebral ganglion, it forms a retrocerebral complex, okay. Now the visceral ganglions. These are located in the mid-dorsal region upon the crop, okay, digestive system. You learn about the crop and gizzard. A thick esophageal nerve which helps to connect the cerebro-hypocerebral ganglion, okay. So there is a thick esophageal nerve which helps to connect the hypocerebral ganglion with the visceral ganglion. The visceral ganglion is connected to the hypocerebral ganglion with the help of thick esophageal nerve, okay. In front of these ganglions, several fine branches, okay, of the esophageal nerve, it innervates the salivary glands. So the visceral ganglions and the branches of the visceral ganglions, okay, especially the branches of esophageal nerve, it helps to innervate the salivary glands, okay. So visceral ganglion, it is basically connected with the uh, hypocerebral ganglion with the help of thick esophageal nerve, okay. And this thick esophageal nerve, it gives off fine branches, and these branches, they help to supply, okay, they help to provide the stimuli to the salivary glands, okay. So this is autonomic nervous system, okay. So the stomogastric nervous system, the frontal ganglion, which is on the dorsal side, the hypocerebral ganglion, which is on the, which is also on the dorsal side, but just behind brain, frontal ganglion just in front of brain, okay, and then the visceral ganglion, okay. Now, my dear students, the retrocerebral complex, which is made up of hypocerebral ganglion and corpora cardiaca and corpora elata. Then comes the proventricular ganglia or the last ganglia. The proventricular ganglia or the last ganglia. Last ganglia. These are two small ganglia, one upon dorsal and other upon ventral. Okay, so they consist of one dorsal and one ventral surface of gizzard. The proventricular ganglia, it is the last ganglia, and these are two small ganglia, two short or small ganglias, one upon dorsal and the other upon ventral surface of gizzard. So suppose this is gizzard, okay, and the gizzard, the dorsal surface of the gizzard and the ventral surface of the gizzard. So one ganglia is on the dorsal surface and one ganglia is on the ventral surface. Okay. Yes. Each of these are connected with the visceral ganglion. So the dorsal and the ventral branches, okay, they are of these small ganglia. They are connected with the visceral ganglion by means of long and thick visceral nerve. Long and thick visceral nerve. These regulate the activity of foregut as peristalsis. They help in the rhythmic movement of the foregut, okay, through which food can transfer from head to the abdomen region, okay, from the pre-oral cavity, from the pharyngeal region to the abdominal region. So proventricular ganglia is the last ganglia. These are two small ganglia, okay, one upon dorsal and the other one upon the ventral surface of the gizzard. Each of these are each of these are connected with the visceral ganglion by means of long and thick visceral nerve. This regulates the activity of foregut, especially peristalsis. So peristalsis is basically regulated by the visceral nerve, which is the part of proventricular ganglia. Now the spiracular nervous system, which basically helps to supply the spiracles. So the spiracular nervous system is basically helps to control the, turbo-sternal muscles, which help in the movement, okay, the alary muscles which help in the movement, okay. So the spiracular nervous system, understood. This controls the activities of spiracles. It helps to control the activity of spiracles. The nerve plexus found around each spiracle is having a nerve plexus, and they are connected with the segmental ganglia of the nerve cord. So a nerve plexus which is found around each spiracle and which is connected with the segmental ganglia of each nerve cord. These regulated or they help to regulate the activity of spiracles, which further maintain the rate of flow of gases, flow of exchange of gases. Okay. So in the spiracular nervous system, which helps to control the activities of spiracles, a nerve plexus found around the east spiracle, a nerve plexus which is found around the east spiracle. These are connected with segmental ganglia. They are connected with the segmental ganglia of nerve cord. These helps in the regulation of activity of spiracles, mean rate of exchange of gases. Then the caudal nervous system regulates the activity of hindgut, gonads, and the abdominal appendages. Mean the caudal region or the region where hind limbs are there. So the caudal nervous system, it regulates the lower abdominal regions, mean the caudal region, like hindgut, gonads, and abdominal appendages. This nervous system formed by the last segment ganglion of the nerve cord, that is the seventh, which is present on the seventh abdominal segment. Okay, so the seventh abdominal segment is having the last, ganglion, segmental ganglion. Okay, which helps to control the caudal nervous system. This includes certain fine nerves that arise from the last abdominal ganglion and innervate various parts. So the visceral nerve is found in the proventricular ganglia, okay, proventricular ganglia, and it helps to regulate the activity of foregut. Okay, understood? The visceral ganglion, it is at the mid dorsal region, just near to the crop region, crop. It is having a thick esophageal nerve. The thick esophageal nerve is in the visceral ganglion. Visceral nerve is in the proventricular region, proventricular ganglion. Okay. A thick esophageal nerve, it helps to connect the hypocerebral ganglion to visceral ganglion. Okay. And in the front side, it is having many supra branches. Okay. Which helps to innervate the salivary glands. Retrocerebral complex, it is formed by hypocerebral ganglion plus corpora cardiaca and corpora aorta. Okay. Frontal ganglion, it is a small median ganglion located dorsally upon the pharynx just in front of brain, which helps to connect the brain with the short and thick pair of frontal connectives. So my dear students, this is all about the nervous system. Okay. We have completed the ANS, autonomic nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the central nervous system. Okay. So now in the next class, we will be starting with the endocrine system or the endocrinology of cockroach, which will be including different types of hormones, which will assist in the normal or routine daily metabolic processes and the other reproductive processes. Till then, bye bye, take care, stay safe, stay at home.